Hello Kyle's Garage viewers, and welcome back to an actual episode. This is episode 21. And just as the title implies, we're going to be test fitting the Lima Turbo, the 2.3 Lima Turbo, into the Bronco 2. But first, I need to remove the core support. Enjoy the video.
I've got to get this core support off to make the engine easier to install.
To getting this core support off, it's actually welded on. And this side is clearly not welded on anymore. It has been cracked. And there's supposed to be spot welds all along here to help hold this in. And obviously it's not there anymore. And on this side, the weld is still intact. And on the back side of this, right here, it used to be spot welded on these tabs. As you can see on this back side, there's little spot weld. These little circles are spot welds, and they go down and under. But on this side, same thing. The spot welds have let go between here. It's supposed to all be there, but that's going to make it easy to take it all apart. So I'm going to have to go ahead and cut that weld. Alright, so that was pretty easy. That's very, very loose now. And there's not really any bolts holding it in anymore. It's just this old rusted mount, which there's nothing really, there's nothing holding it. But this last thing is this tiny little stainless friggin' self-tapping screw up underneath there. And so yeah, I'll just take that out and this whole thing should be real loose. Alright, so now that I got the core support off, it's like nothing in the way at all of trying to test fit this engine. The one thing I do got to do is I got to get what's left of the factory motor mounts out of here. These are the factory motor mounts that bolted that engine into a Mustang, is what I pulled this engine out of. It is a turbo equipped Thunderbird engine though, but somebody put it in a Mustang. Anyway, these are the Mustang mounts, and it's eerily similar. The angle at which the motor mount sits in, here I'll take this one over there just to show you what I mean, is this. The angle of the actual cross member, like if I can, also the factory mount on the Bronco has one bolt just like this to slip through. I'm hoping it's a very similar design, because even at that angle, it looks that it would sit with the engine block just perfectly with that angle. So I'm really hoping to get lucky that these factory Fox body engine mounts will work for the Bronco as well. Only one way to find out. Alright, I got the mounts out. There's a few factory holes. And this is the factory Bronco mount here. I'll take it over just to give you a visual on how it works. It's got a little location tab there, so it fits in just nicely. In like that. Here is the Mustang mount that I have. Okay, it's got kind of a similar setup, just single bolt with a location dimple or whatever. Just the wrong size hole, and not only that, is it won't work in that setup, and I'll explain further. Okay, if you can see that that one is farther forward and that one is farther back, is because it had a V engine in there, and that's not going to be the case because I will show you the Lima block and how it is. Okay, here's the Lima. This is where the motor mount will be. So coming up here. And the other motor mount goes right here. And they're equally spaced front to back. And I think the next thing to do after that is get the engine on the crane and get it close and figure out where those bolt holes are going to look good, and hopefully everything works. I don't know, there's like no information on this. I mean, there's very little information for this exact 2.3 liter going into this is very difficult, and I could probably source like Ranger style, but everything I find, I can't find the piece that actually bolts to the engine, so I'd have to go to a junkyard, but I think we might be able to make this work with Mustang mounts. I just really want this thing in there, darn it. Alright, I already started noticing some issues as I was trying to get it in there, and I'll point them out real quick. Okay, I wish that this was going to go a little easier. It looks like now we're going to have to really start getting into some modification. If you look down here, kind of tough to see, but the oil pan is pretty big on this thing, and it is touching. And that is right in the way of that fitting in the frame. So I need to do a couple more questions and answers here. Okay, another issue that I've realized is that it's sitting way too far to the passenger side. Try to get a good view here. If you can see, this is where the crankshaft is. We need kind of the crankshaft to be here. More center line to the truck. It's hard to see from back here, but yeah, it's a little too far one way, but that and that pan is an issue. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the factory V6, the rest of the brackets off of the old engine block, and see what I can do to maybe cut it and weld it into the desired shape to get it mounted in here. But otherwise, that oil pan is going to be a huge issue, because I can't simply just push it back further, because then the bell housing won't clear the firewall, which probably for drag racing is not a bad thing. So I don't know, there's just going to be a few more ideas getting tossed around here. I would rather have the engine sitting, you know, a little bit more forward where it's supposed to be. I don't want to sit it back too far. Just because I don't want to modify the frame either, though, if I can help it, because that's part of the strength. And of course, the 2.9 block is right there under that pile of crap. So I've got to, I got to get those motor mounts. Okay, I unburied the mounts. This is the driver side mount for the factory V6, and this is the passenger side mount for the factory V6. Alright, and then I'll show you over on the truck how close it is, but not close enough. I set the factory rubber part of the mount, lower mount we'll call it, and this is the mount plate for the factory V6. And there's how the factory setup is for the V6. And it looks like it would line up well with these holes. So worst case scenario, what I'm thinking is, you know, you kind of got that. I'm just going to lay it there just so you kind of got an idea. And this would be the mount bracket for this actual engine. And it bolts on right there. And if worst comes to worst, I'm sure I could weld those together in some fashion to get it to work. So for now, as hard as it is to just stop, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself and start cutting holes or cutting things apart. For right now, I don't have a welder. And number two is there might be a factory-ish option that I can go with. Like, I really want to look into a Ranger and try to get that plate. I can't buy that plate like on Rock Auto or Advanced Auto or nothing like that. I'm gonna have to go to a junkyard and actually get that engine mount plate. I think that's gonna be my next step, and do a little more research and see what I can find out. But for now, fortunately, I've come to kind of a halt on this. Although I am pretty excited. It's like kind of just sitting in there right now. I mean, it's pretty close to sitting about where it needs to be. The center line is about right. Still needs to go to the driver's side just a little bit. Pop this out of here. If you look down there, right here, you can see where the oil pan is just, it's a custom oil pan and it's quite large. If I had a factory pan, it would probably fit just fine, but, or I can modify this pan, and that's kind of sad. I don't want to lose this pan really, but we might have to go to a factory one for this to work. And as it sits right now, it is up way too high. As you can see, like the pan is up way too high. The idea would be to get the engine down as far as it can go, just because that's much more ideal for center of gravity. But man, it's kind of exciting. It's the closest it's ever been to being in there. This is the closest we've ever come to figuring it out. And I'm gonna pull the engine back out for a second and put it back on the stand and show you guys why I don't want to cut the frame for that oil pan to fit. Okay, I got the engine back out of the way, and you can see right here these witness marks where the oil pan was hitting, so it would have to be cut through here. And the reason I don't want to do that, if you look on this back side, and these rivets right here, those are for the I-beam mount, and I don't want to get rid of any of this structure at all. I'd really like to keep the factory I-beams because I think they're freaking cool, and not only that, is when we start pulling the front tires off the ground, everybody will be able to see that I-beam and know that she's still heavy, but it's unique. And I would be lying if I say that I'm not discouraged right now. I am slightly discouraged just because I was really hoping to get it in there today, but that's okay. These problems, they are not problems, they're just you know, new questions. They're not a problem, it's a new question. And the question is what kind of mount am I going to use to get that 2.3 Lima into this Bronco 2? I think the next step, seriously though, is going to a junkyard and trying to find an older model Ranger and trying to rob those mounts off of it and see if they work up to my Lima engine. I don't see why they wouldn't. They've got to be close. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Alright, and as you see there, it is a lot of work to just get the engine actually in there. But hopefully I can make it work with Ranger parts. I just need to go to a junkyard and really look around and do some just physical hands-on research. Maybe I'll bring Epi along with me, you know, drag him out to a muddy field somewhere to look at a Ranger. But anyways, even if I can't get the Ranger mounts, I will do whatever it takes to get that engine in there, which means cutting and fabbing mounts, which will be pretty cool. But what I really want to do right now is I want to shout out Private Garage. He is a YouTuber, a small YouTuber just like me, and Epi, well, Epi's starting to grow now. But anyways, go give Private Garage a check out. He's doing a 2.3 Lima turbo in a Pinto, and that's really cool. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.